Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can get a free 20 minutes of class time if you use the paid version of ClassIn. So I use the business version of ClassIn, and I have tested this myself, so I know for a fact 100% that it does work with the business version. But I have been told by ClassIn support and some documentation that I have seen about the pro version that it works the same with the pro version. But I just like to be completely 100% honest that I have not tested it with the pro version because I just don't have the pro version. But it should work the same way. So when you create a class on ClassIn and you have the paid version, whether it's pro or the business, you always have to set your class time. So when you set that class time, that is what tells ClassIn, their system, how much you will be charged for that class. And for classes, they always charge in 30-minute increments. So even if I have a class that I set for 20 minutes, I'm going to be charged for a 30-minute class. So anything under 30 minutes, you get charged for 30 minutes. Anything over 30 minutes to 60 minutes, you get charged for an hour class. So if I set my class for 35 minutes, I'm going to be charged for a full 60. That's just how their billing system works. 30-minute increments, 30 minutes, hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours. It's always in 30-minute increments. But what some people might not know is that you get an extra built-in 20 minutes after your class time. So after your class gets to the end, it starts to count down from the 5-minute mark when you only have 5 minutes left in your class. And then you will see something pop up on your screen. So I've made a quick recording of just the end of a fake class that I did, so you could see what you will see and what you will do if you get to that point and you want to extend your class time. So here I have the end. I have 9 seconds remaining in my class. This was a 30-minute class that I did. And as it counts down, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then it says extra time. So it changed to red and it now says extra time and it's counting up. In a second, you're going to see something pop up on my screen. It doesn't do it immediately. Now it says class is now over and the classroom will be closed in 20 minutes. Keep in mind, the student does not see this pop up, only the teacher. So I just closed it out. And now the time continues to count up and it will continue to count up until the 20-minute mark because that's your free extra time. Even though it doesn't tell you on that pop-up, it doesn't tell you on the screen, you are not being charged for this extra time. Once you get to the end of that 20-minute extra time, it will simply kick you out of the class. It will kick you out of the class and it will kick the student out of the class. So you don't have to worry about going over that extra 20 minutes. So why is this 20 minutes useful? Well, for one, it's helpful if you, the teacher, have to start a little late. You might tell your student, oh, I'm sorry, I'm about 5 minutes late. You don't have to worry if you go over that 30 minutes of being charged for an hour class. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. It'll just charge you for the 30 that you set the class for. So it helps if you're late. It helps if your student's late and you have extra time to make up for it. You can stay a little bit longer, up to 20 minutes. If you have tech issues during class that you need to make up for, you can stay longer and not have to worry about being charged for a full hour for your 30-minute class. I had for one student, sometimes I usually go over a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the max, but one time I had a student who is always late, forgets about class all the time, even though we have the class at the same day, same time, every week. She always forgets. I only stay in my classes for about 15 to 20 minutes and then I just leave. I'm not waiting longer than that. My students know that. But she contacted me. I contacted her on WeChat, and her mom finally contacted me about 15-minute mark and said, oh, I'm so sorry. Can we still have class? I said, sure. She was my last class of the day. I had extra time. I knew I had an extra 20 minutes for free. So I said, sure, we can have class right now. So she showed up literally 20 minutes into class. So I stayed for that end of class, and then I stayed for that extra 20 minutes. So it ended up being a full class time, but I was still only charged for a 30-minute class, even though I was technically there for 50 minutes. So it is excellent for making up class time if you need it. But the important thing to know is you must set your class time for 30 minutes or less. So let's say you teach 40-minute lessons. You can teach 40-minute lessons and only be charged for a 30-minute class. So how do you do that? When you make your class, go to the course, add a lesson. All you would have to do is set your class time for 30 minutes. Don't set it for 40 because you will be charged for an hour. Set your class time for 30 minutes. And then once you get to that 30 minutes of your class, just stay an extra 10 minutes. It's free. Let's say you teach 50-minute classes. You can teach a 50-minute class and only be charged for 30 minutes. Again, how do you do that? Just set your class for 30 minutes when you create the class. When you get to the end of that 30 minutes, just stay for that extra 20 that is free. So you taught a 50-minute class, but you only get charged for a 30-minute class. So this is excellent for teachers who teach between 30 minutes and 50 minutes and only have to be charged for a 30-minute class. Of course, might be a little confusing to the parent because they're seeing the class is only 30 minutes. You can just explain to them the class is set for 30 minutes, but we will stay for the full 40, 45, 50, however long your class is. So this is a great way to save money on ClassIn and still be able to teach a little bit longer classes. But again, the key is you must set your class time for 30 minutes or less. Then you just stay longer till that 20-minute time is up. The negative to that would be if you teach a 50-minute class, it kicks you out after that extra 20 minutes. So let's say you needed to make up an extra 2 to 5 minutes because of something starting late or tech issues, you don't get that extra time because once you hit that extra 20-minute time, it will literally kick you out of the class. It doesn't ask you to leave the class. It will just kick you out. I learned that with my student the last time that happened. So you can teach up to 50 minutes easily and only pay for a 30-minute class. I know I've said that 20 million times, but just want to make sure it's clear. So here's another little trick that I don't really recommend doing, but you could actually teach a 1-hour class and only pay for a 30-minute class. How on earth is that possible? Well, not only do you get that extra 20 minutes at the end, so here's my 20 minutes at the end, but you also technically get an extra 10 minutes at the beginning of class. So with the free version, as most of you know, you only get, I think it was 5 minutes before class to enter, you and the student. So you had an extra 5 minutes for class, technically with the free version. But with the paid versions, the teacher can enter 20 minutes before class, but the student can enter 10 minutes before class. So if you and the student enter 10 minutes early and start class right away, you can start class even though it's 10 minutes early, you have your 30-minute class, and then you stay an extra 20 minutes. You are now teaching a 60-minute class, but you're only being paid for a 30-minute class because that is the time you set. Remember, when you set your lesson, you set it for 30 minutes. So you just taught a 60-minute class, but only paid for a 30-minute class. That's a free 30 minutes. This is why I don't really recommend that, because that can be really confusing for the student or the parent, because you have to set the class time to start 10 minutes later than you wanted to start. So let me explain that if it doesn't make sense. Let's say you teach your hour class from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. but you only want to pay for 30. So even though the class really starts at 6, when you go in, let me pull this up, when you add your lesson, you would have to start it at, oh, I have to go to the next day. You would have to start it at 6:10 because remember, you're getting free 10 minutes before the class starts. So even though it's a 6 o'clock class, you would need to set it for 6:10. So I would set it for 6:10 as my start time, but you and the student would enter 10 minutes before that, which is 6 o'clock. So even though the class is set for 6:10, you would technically start your class at 6 o'clock, that extra 10 minutes you get before class. Then your class would be set for 30 minutes. So that would be 6:10 to 6:40. So that would be your 30-minute class that you have set on your lesson. And then at 6:40, your extra 20 minutes starts. So then you have 7 o'clock, your extra 20 minutes. So then you taught your hour class, but you only set it for 30 minutes, which means you're only being charged for a 30-minute class. But like I said, that can be confusing because when your student logs into their ClassIn account or their ClassIn app, they see a class start time of 6:10. So they have to remember, and the parent has to remember, to enter 10 minutes early to get that full hour. And if they don't, then you end up only teaching a 50-minute class because that extra 10 minutes, once it's gone, it's gone. You can't stay an extra 10 minutes at the end. It's only extra at the beginning, 10, extra 20 at the end. You can't take that 10 from the beginning and move it to the end. It doesn't work that way. Once you get that extra 20 at the end, class is cut off. So I tested this just to make sure this all really works because I know it can be like, what? There is no way I can teach an hour class and only be charged for 30 minutes. I don't believe it. Well, anybody who knows me knows that I test everything. I never tell a teacher an answer unless I know 100% it is accurate. So today I did this 1-hour test. I made a lesson for 30 minutes. I entered 10 minutes early with my student, and I stayed 20 minutes late with that student, making it an hour class. So let's take a look at, okay, so here is my account. So this has my financial details, which I always recommend looking to make sure everything is accurate. I always double check every once in a while to make sure I'm not being charged too much for classes. So you can see this was the test lesson I did. It shows the actual lesson duration right here. And I think this only counts the time the student is in the class. I say that because it shows 59 minutes and 14 seconds. And I entered first, and then it took me a few seconds for my student to enter on my iPad. So it's not a full hour, but it's a 59-minute, 14-second lesson. But here it shows my billing time to the hour. It only shows that I was billed for 0.5, half of an hour. The unit price is 2 yuan per person per hour. And since I only taught for a half hour, even though I really taught for 60 minutes, even though I did that, it's only charging me for that half. So I only paid 1 yuan for that lesson. Yes, I wasted 15 cents, but to me it was worth it in order to make sure I was giving 100% accurate information. So hopefully all this information makes sense. Of course, if you have any questions, need me to clarify anything, please let me know. But hopefully this could potentially save some teachers a little bit of money by working with how the billing system works. Goodbye, everyone.